we just had to be scrappy as F. You never know what you're going to need to be, what the business needs you to be.
The GM of Evro, Mr. Paolo Canivel.
I'll be honest, I was a little afraid at that time because I didn't know anything about EVs. So I immersed myself in the product, learned it. It kind of became second nature. By the end of the year, we'll probably be at around 60,000 EVs on the road.
What?
Yeah.
Welcome to Hustle Share, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Baetiong.
Welcome to today's episode of the Share Podcast. I'm super excited with this episode because not only are we talking about EVs today, we're also going to be talking to a founder himself and also now have been killing it in 917 Ventures. But without further ado, let's welcome to the show the GM of Evro, Mr. Paolo Canivel. Pal, welcome to the show.
What's up? Thanks for having me here on the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Big fan of what you guys been doing, not just on Evro, but way back pa. I've even had one of your friends and co-founders and Nick for Felipe and Sons. But before I get carried away, man, I need to ask you the $1 million question.
All right.
Pal, what's your hustle?
So, my name is Paolo Canivel. I am currently the General Manager of Evro Mobility Solutions Philippines. We are the country's first and largest brand-agnostic e-mobility service provider in the country. For those, I assume a lot of people don't understand it. An EMSP it's a network, right, that brings all the EV charging stations together in one mobile application. So kind of think of us as like the gateway for all EV charging networks. So in other countries, you've got applications where there's so many charging networks already in other countries, right? And it's like having 1,000 Shells or Caltexes in all these other countries. And the pain point is that you can't have like 1,000 apps to connect to every single one of those charging stations if I'm gonna drive, diba? My EV to get charged. So that's where the concept of an EMSP, which is basically a platform that brings all these charging networks together and giving people a simple, easy to use charging solution where they can find a charger, see whether it's compatible to their car, and charge.
Wow. So technically your own Google Maps per se, it's a discovery platform.
Yeah, it is. I mean, $1 million question right now of a lot of people, especially in the very nascent EV industry natin, is where can I charge, right? Like I want to buy an EV, but where am I going to plug it, right? Or a lot of people still don't know if I go to this charging station, compatible ba? Diba? And you see it in the news all the time. A lot of people, they start to complain. Pagdating nila doon, wala na, may nagcha-charge na. Right? And they're it's a waste of their time. Because
Chamba is not a strategy.
Exactly, right? So that's the pain point that Evro solves. Because with Evro, you can, one, find the charging station. Number two, you can see on the app whether it's compatible with your car.
Yeah.
Right? And the most important is number three, you'll know whether somebody's using it or not.
Correct.
So I don't have to waste my time going to a station that I can't use.
No, for sure. And there's even this thing, I've been slowly getting immersed into the EV because it's inevitable. I will get mine. But it's mahal, the one that I want. It's an Audi. Okay. Nabipong pa. Okay, hustling.
Ako, that solid BYD pa.
Solid, ayan. Of course. Jaime, ayan. Very good. No, that's what I just, again, wishful thinking lang. Range anxiety is a thing.
Absolutely. It's real. And people being immersed in the EV industry today, I hear people's comments, concerns, complaints every single day. The struggle and the pain, it's absolutely real. People want to shift, right? I mean, the industry's been growing 40% year on year.
Wow.
Like, it's massive. And BYD is leading that charge, right? With AC mobility. And everybody, I hear so many people want to get on that shift because it really is so cost efficient. But a lot of them are still, asking the question, but where? But how? right? What happens if? Yan yung barrier. And that's the barrier that we at Evro, we're trying to break that every single day.
That's amazing. Now, you need to obviously put that in a back burner. Backseat muna real quick.
Sure.
Because we'll do a deep dive about EVs and, understanding how we need to bridge the gap between discovery and access.
Yeah, sure.
It's always going to be the big chasm that you're going to be trying to build as this supply of EVs cover our streets. I need you to buckle up. We have another vehicle here, real quick. Not EV, but multidimensional. There, it goes all the way back to your origin story.
Oh yeah, sure.
All right, because we need to understand how you started out as a hustler per se.
Oh yeah.
Because we're going to have to ride the Hustle Share Time Machine. How, before we talk about EVs, and this is why I'm super excited, because you've been on both fences as an EIR or a venture builder in 917B, and obviously getting acquired, going to EC Mobility, but also becoming a founder yourself.
Yeah.
But before we even talk about that, I want to understand the very first exposures you've had in hustling.
Sure.
What was that like, and what was it like growing up?
Wow. I've been an entrepreneur from day one. As early as I can remember, back in college, I used to sell bags out of the back of my car.
Wow.
Like my friend would have my friend had
Jan Sports? What are we talking about?
So one of my best friends is Aranas, Miguel Aranas.
Oh my God!
So back then they used to do the bags for Tory Burch, and then yung mga overruns. He and I would sell that out of the back of our trucks. Like he would do it, right? And then I said, hey, that's a good idea. I want to do it too. So we used to do that in college, and then I used to sell pulveron in like Rockwell during those mga Christmas fairs.
Back when they still had paintball before there.
Hindi naman ganun kaaga, pero I've done so many things, right? I had a magnet importing business.
Business.
Yeah. I imported magnets for as an art supply.
Yeah.
Because I was a photographer and I felt like, I needed a convenient way to put up all my photos on my walls. So I started importing magnets, and then I guess my first venture as an entrepreneur was, so I used to be a banker, right? I started out as a banker.
Yeah, in Citi.
Yeah, in Citibank.
Okay.
And then I kind of like grew a conscience, I guess. And I felt like, I just felt like I needed to make a difference.
Got it.
Right? And I didn't feel like I was nailing that in the banking industry.
Okay.
So I did a whole complete 180. And then I joined an NGO, right? I joined the Knowledge Channel Foundation.
Okay.
And ironically, it was in the Knowledge Channel Foundation where I realized that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. The reason is because as an NGO, part of my job was to ask for money from people all the time.
Got it.
And as part of ABS-CBN, the ABS-CBN Foundation.
Matinik, Hiraya Manawari.
Exactly.
These are the things I grew up on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Those were the shows,
Apple.
right? Exactly, right? We had to ask for money from the mother company to fund the programs, the schools that we were putting TVs in.
Correct.
And then that's when I realized, it's nice to be able to be on the ground and make change in schools and in kids' lives, but the real value is created here, right? For you to be able to make an impact here, you first have to be able to create value here in business. You have to be able to make money to be able to pass that money down onto the lives of other people. And if you're not creating value up here, nothing happens down here. And that's when I realized that I wanted to do this.
Wow.
I wanted to create value. I wanted to build, and in the building, be able to help other people's lives.
Amazing.
Right. And that was the crux of it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where I really started. That's where the whole entrepreneur in me came alive. No, ironically, it was in a nonprofit organization.
Right.
And then after that, so I joined my first startup. It was a tech startup founded by an uncle of mine.
Okay.
We did high definition laser scanning, so LiDAR. So I was one of the first people that brought LiDAR into the country. I partnered with a company called Leica Geosystems. So it's a 200-year-old company, the world leaders, right? And back then, I was just, we were just a small BPO. When I saw that technology, it was so groundbreaking for me. I just pare, naglakas loob lang ako. I went to Singapore. I flew to Singapore.
Okay.
I set a meeting with the guys in Leica, and I convinced them that I was the guy to bring their technology into the country. And then that's
like
that
the
got us
camera
started.
brand, right?
Yeah, Leica the camera brand. So
Wow.
Leica, you don't realize it has, Leica is a big company, right?
Right.
And it has three main businesses.
Right.
The cameras, microscopes.
Huh?
Yeah, microscopes.
Why?
Right.
I'm not a science.
Exactly.
I'm not a
Diba?
biologist, so.
And geosystems. So when you say geosystems, it's things like GPS, laser scanning, satellites, drones, mapping systems.
Wow.
So it's a massive company. I went to Leica and I convinced them that I was their guy. And yun, I basically set up Leica Geosystems Philippines.
Galing,
And that's and then since then we kind of became like the leaders in LiDAR technology in the country.
For
So
sure.
that
And-
was DigiScript.
and
And then
After that, what was the next step?
so while I was doing that, I wanted to do a bit of a passion project.
Okay.
And that's when I started Philippe and Sons.
Yes.
So that was 13 years ago. Philippe and Sons.
How's it been?
It's
I still
it's
remember.
fantastic, dude. It's still, I would say I guess I'm proud to say we're probably still the premier brand in
Dude,
men's
You guys
grooming
still
in the
are.
country.
I still
So-
remember the first few times I've been to your shop to get a haircut.
Mhm.
I would get a Yifang in Rufino. And I would
I
the
remember
first
that.
Yifang.
I remember
it's still there,
that.
I think.
It's
And then
straight
I would
right beside,
and then I
yeah.
would fucking
Yeah.
just go to ano. The only problem every time is where the hell do I park?
Yeah. Don't worry now. So we're in Rockwell
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
We're in Podium na. Marami
Right.
ng parking.
Correct,
So
correct.
madali lang yan.
My go-to pre-pandemic was the one in Tomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're expect to see us in more places next year. So we're on a growth push again. Obviously, the pandemic kind of required me to contract.
Of course.
Diba?
As you
Everyone
should. Mhm.
and we were one of the hardest hit
course.
industries, right?
Yeah.
The service industry was really hard,
Mm.
badly hit. But we survived. We
Mhm.
went through it. We were able to get out of it, and now we're doing better than we ever were.
Yeah.
Right?
Ang dami na uling pogi.
Sana, diba?
Yes.
Sana
We feel
natutulungan
pogi
ko
every
sila.
time you walk out, Nung
Yeah.
pandemic, pumangit tayo lahat.
Well, hindi naman, di ba? Ako yung
Pangit
asawa
lang ng gupit.
ko,
Okay.
tinuruan ko siya maggupit
Oh, wow.
ng buhok ko. So, pero sa harap lang, dito lang, yung sa likod.
This is in the front party and the
That's right,
back.
man. That's right. That's right. So yeah, I think that's why mullets came back, right? The pandemic kind of forced us into
Oh my
that.
God. Patrick Swayze is proud of us.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, there. No, so Philippe and Sons started out as a passion project, and then with a group of friends, you know how it is, diba? It was kind of like when you start a bar.
Yeah.
You get a group of guys together and you say, "Hey, let's put up this concept."
Right.
And then at that time, it was so novel to bring like a barbershop and a haberdashery together, and then throw whiskey and beer into the whole experience. We just kind of really wanted to make a man cave
Correct.
that we could be, we could enjoy and be proud of. And then, I don't know, little did I realize how much the country kind of needed that. And it just exploded overnight, like literally overnight, right? We went from like 0 to 10 in 3 months, right?
Grabe.
So we had to, I hit my first year numbers in like 3 months. What? Right. And because it was that in demand.
Grabe.
Right. So we were scrambling every day. And dude, I had to do everything. Like I was cajero, janitor. I was steaming clothes in the back.
Right.
And really literally like I would go in, open the door, wash the bathrooms, fix everything up just so that by the time people came in, the place looked good, right?
Yeah.
I'd serve coffee to guests.
Wow.
Everything. Right? So talagang, from the ground up. I even remember when we started Philippe and Sons, we set up our first sewing machines and our first barbering chairs in my garage.
What?
Yeah. Because we had to practice.
Of course.
Diba? We had to make sure that we knew what we were doing before we went
and
out
these
there.
are the people, majority of the time.
Exactly.
The guys that buy this use it for a special occasion.
Exactly.
Wedding.
Exactly.
Whatever. They can look whack.
Exactly, right? So I remember, I set it up in my parents' garage at that time. So syempre I had to make paalam, Mom, we're putting up a business. Can I borrow your garage?
Right. I remember, pre-Felipe, again, I'm always kalbo. Okay, but before, okay, uno lang, boss, ganun lang. Uno lang, bahala ka na. But when I started seeing, what the hell, you can actually do a proper fade with lining up. That's my own self-love.
Yeah.
So whenever I get a haircut, it's not enough na haircut lang yan. I need to have a nice fade going on.
I think
You know
I think
that.
you just nailed it when you said self-love. I mean, I think
Mhm.
it all starts with that. The whole point naman kasi of why we did that is because there was a time when we were the most cosmopolitan country
Yeah.
in all of Asia.
Yep.
Right? You know, I grew up in a family and in an environment where on the walls I would see the pictures of my lolos and my great grandfathers and
Dapper.
my lolo was such a dapper man, right? He taught me how to shine my shoes. He taught me how to fold my clothes every morning. Paggising ko, kailangan maayos ako. And he taught me all of that, right? And I kind of grew up in that environment. And there was just something romantic but also so dignified
Correct.
about it. Diba? And I don't know, parang as I grew up, I kind of felt like we were losing some of that.
Yeah.
Right. And it was so important for me to kind of share that value with people because I think that if you treat yourself with that self-love and treat yourself with dignity,
Right.
and elevate your sense of self, hold yourself to a higher standard, you start acting better in anything that you do.
For real.
Right? Whether it's in the way you treat people, the way you do work, the way you just go about your day, right? And I
Your
think
overall
that's
aura. That's the term
exactly.
now.
Diba?
The aura.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And coming out, the term we called it is, it's having that quiet confidence.
Yes.
Diba? And if you have that, I mean, there's really nothing that you can't do, right?
Totally,
And I just wanted more men to feel that way.
Totally.
And that's what it was about.
reflected in your cut and the way you dress up, right? You don't have to overdo it, but you're right, because you don't have to have the swagger that's overbearing.
Exactly.
Na ang dating is bravado.
Exactly.
Confidence is quiet.
So I love this because in our manifesto, part of what we would teach our barbers is ang lalaking Philippine sons hindi mayabang pero may angas.
Yeah, I love it. Woo! Again, thank you, because I started getting that fresh cut profoundly in VA Rufino in that area. Yeah, it's a double win eh. May ipang ka na, may
gupit ka
Felipe
pa.
Yeah.
And may
Pogi.
masahe.
Yes, pogi, tikas pogi. Yeah, that's how I would watch. Okay, let's take our first break, and when we come back, we will now talk about, of course, there's Felipe, but Paolo didn't stop there. He kept doing amazing things in the tech industry, and of course, we'll talk about how that stitched through to what he's doing now in Evro. You were also thriving in your tech grind, so. That's my first question. Because after while you're doing DigiScript, you're also doing. So you were a tweener all the time. You had Felipe as pampapogi. That's why you're always pogi. That's your cheat code.
Mm-hmm.
Lagi kang pogi. But you're also doing the tech vibe. So after DigiScript, walk me through how that turned into Lazada.
Sure.
Eventually.
So I had to leave DigiScript.
Okay.
Because I had to focus on Felipe and Sons.
Of course, all in.
I had to go all in into Felipe and Sons. Because, like I said, it kind of just boomed.
Yeah.
And I realized na, okay, it's either I keep this a one small shop operation or I decide to grow it. And that's when I really decided to, I had to make the choice. I left DigiScript and said, I'm going to go all in Felipe and Sons.
Why is it called Felipe and Sons, by the way?
So, Felipe and Sons is, again, it harkens back to what we were trying to do. I always wanted to build a very Filipino brand.
Correct.
Right? So, Felipe is the Philippines. Right? Felipe is the Philippines and we are all the sons. And we wanted it to have that paternal relationship because parang the point is, diba, as sons, what is our job as sons? It's our job to make our parents proud, right? It's our job to uphold our family values. And that's why I wanted it to be called Felipe and Sons, because I wanted it to mean we are the sons of the Philippines. So it's our job as the sons of the Philippines to make our heritage proud, diba? Make our parents proud. And that's what it was all about. That's why it was called Felipe and Sons.
So you're now all in Felipe and whatnot. Obviously, you did that for a while.
Yeah.
But what drew you back eventually to tech?
Right? After running that business for 8 years, 7-8 years straight, you can only think of so many haircuts and
Yeah.
suits after a certain amount of time,
Yep.
and I really felt like I was missing, I missed being at the forefront of something,
Ah.
right? When I was in DigiScript, I was building something,
Yep.
something completely new, something that nobody had done in the Philippines before. And I kind of missed that. And I felt that, when I was looking at what is happening at that point in time, it was very clear to me the big thing that was going to happen was e-commerce.
Yeah.
And this was in 2019. And I
Correct.
just had this gut feeling, something's gonna happen in e-commerce. It's there.
Yep.
It's growing. And it just so happened that at that time, Ray Alimurong, the CEO of Lazada, was looking for chief of staff. And, I said, hey, that sounds like a great role. So I met him. We had a really good relationship, and I ended up in Lazada almost like that, right? And
Wow.
true enough,
Mm.
diba? I thought that something was going to happen in e-commerce. This was 2019.
Dude.
And in 6 months, 8 months, boom, the pandemic hit,
happened. Grabe.
right? And suddenly my learning curve went from like this to like that. Diba? And
I remember interviewing Ray. I've always been a big fan. Even if
Yeah, great
he never wants to do hustle share. Lagi niya akong, man, that guy's slick.
yep.
Like, I thought I got him, and then man, he just wouldn't. Eventually, I'm not gonna stop doing this, Ray. So,
Let me send you a message.
no, I always try to ano naman, but he just has a slick way of saying no.
Yeah.
Right. But what I want to understand is that, man, you guys were able to really adjust, because I just couldn't fathom how this country would still function if you guys weren't able
Yeah.
to pivot right away.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, when the pandemic hit, what
Yeah.
were you guys even doing and thinking to make the company function and also fill in all this demand?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, a lot of things were happening.
Yeah.
Right? Just kind of like going back to what you said, like you don't know how the country would have like functioned at that time had e-commerce not done what it did. And I have to say that for me, my time in Lazada was a mission accomplished for my purpose in life.
For sure.
Diba? I told you kanina, I wanted to become an entrepreneur because I wanted to build value to be able to help the country.
Yeah.
And I think that, my time in Lazada, that was like really spot on. I was exactly where I needed to be when the country needed me to be there.
Galing.
Right. And that was so fulfilling. I'm always going to look back on my time there with so much fondness,
Yeah.
diba? Because it was important. But yeah, going back to your question, like what did we do? Everything. It was scrappy as F, dude.
Woo.
We had to figure out how to, because the logistics network of delivery, it's not meant to stop, right? The moment that you stop it, shit breaks. And a lot of shit broke
Yep.
back in
And that's
the
a domino effect.
sobra. Diba? And when shit broke in the e-commerce
Yeah.
chain at that time, we had to figure out how to start it from scratch in a completely alien environment. New rules
Yep.
in places that didn't allow us to deliver, in a customer base that didn't know about like how to go about this whole e-commerce shift. We just had to be scrappy as F.
Yep.
Right. And every single day we used to have these war rooms. Right. And every single day in the war rooms, we would talk about what were the problems arising, what does it look like on the ground, how do we solve it.
Yeah.
Like para simple lang. Yung isang barangay, ang dami natin i-deliver doon. Kaso lang yung barangay Tanod, overzealous, ayaw niyang papasukin yung mga delivery guys. Diba? So what did we have to do? What we did was that's when we started like sending trucks over to that place, and then we would call the guys that we would deliver to. Hey, we're here in street so and so. We're a
Papick
block
up na
away.
lang.
If you want your parcel, come pick it up, right? And nobody used to do that in logistics before.
correct.
The Lazada team, we had to like figure that out as it was happening, right? And so a lot of the things that you kind of see as medyo unique to Philippine e-commerce today kind of started then. Because you're just trying to figure shit out as it happened, right?
Yeah.
So
No, but if you look back, so of course, I'm a big fan. And so again, on behalf of the Philippines and all the people that you've touched and helped, again, you guys are unsung heroes, right? We logistics and just keeping the economy
100%.
afloat.
100%.
Thank you for the great work.
You should
that you guys have done.
thank the guys who used to work in the sort centers, in
Thank
the
you.
delivery.
Ayan, everyone.
It's all those guys, man.
Yeah.
Right? We used to just sit in the office. But these guys were braving the pandemic every
Yeah.
single day because they knew that they were bringing something important to somebody.
Yeah.
Right? It was medical stuff. It was inhalers for their lolos who couldn't breathe.
Mhm.
Things like this. And the delivery guys, they found ways, man. I mean, everybody from the ground up, everybody was just trying to solve a problem.
For sure. But again, requires a lot of grit and also a lot of conviction from the top
Yeah.
to navigate uncharted waters because
Mhm.
nobody knew shit,
Yeah.
right? No, nobody had a playbook for a pandemic where everybody's locked down. You guys were able to get that done. But I want to understand one thing before we talk about 917V and obviously eventually Evro. If you look back in the Lazada game or the Lazada stint of almost 4 years, especially during the pandemic, what were the most consequential moves you guys made that allowed you to really thrive in that environment?
Well, the first thing was obviously you needed to get a lot of the sellers were not yet e-commerce savvy. A lot of people didn't know how to do e-commerce yet. So there was a massive push towards educating sellers
Fast and at
fast.
scale.
Yeah, and at scale, exactly. So Lazada had to make it easy, right? So there was a lot of focus on making it easy for sellers to onboard, doubling down on making the onboarding process really self-serve. And then that's what drove up, the shift, diba?
Right.
It all starts with the supply. If you don't have sellers on board, then there's really nothing to move. There's no product to move. So it was first that, focusing on getting the supply, the sellers on board, helping them every single day, trying to make it easy for them using the tech
Right.
to onboard their products, right? Educating them about what the platform could already do and helping them implement that on a daily basis. So it was a lot of educating
Got it.
on a daily basis, right? So that we could get more and more people on the platform. Right. So that's on the seller side. On the consumer side naman, it was about helping them make it easy to find what they needed on Lazada. E-commerce it was a little easier, I guess, in the Philippines because it was a 2-horse game. It was
Yep.
us and the orange guys at that time.
Until there's this third
Until
gear,
now, there's
all of
this
a
yun,
sudden,
diba?
what
Parang
the
boom.
fuck?
And
Yeah.
completely changed the game.
Yep.
Kudos to them, right? But yeah, at that time, it was really about being able to make it enticing
Yep.
for people to shop. Habituate them on e-commerce. A lot of people still, marami pang tao at that time medyo hesitant pa to use the apps, diba? So we had to teach them how to shop online.
Yep.
We enticed them with vouchers. We enticed them with free shipping.
Yep.
Diba? We did all these things. And then of course, who's ever going to forget the double-digit sales? Diba?
Yep.
So you used to only have like the 11-11s, and then it became 11-11, 12-12, and then mamaya, nagkaroon na ng 9-9,
Yeah.
3-3,
I have a story.
6-6. Diba?
I have a story for you. I want to thank you one more time. You guys, Rhea Limarong, you don't know this. And then Carlos actually is one of the people that came in. 9-9 in 2020. So I said, shit, how can I make podcasts make more money if advertising is the only way? Patay tayo if that's the only way. So it's like, what if we talk to Lazada? Lazada specifically. Because I'm a Lazada guy. Till now, I'm still a Lazada guy. Never switched. Okay. So last pay later, thank you. If I don't have liquidity, that's how doon ako umaasa. So Atome, thank you. No, but this is very consequential. It changed PNA for like forever. 9-9, I talked to your affiliate team. I was like, hey, can you give us affiliate codes? I have 50 to 60 shows back then. And I don't have ad space. Why don't we just do this as a big ass campaign and tell people to have their promo codes during 9-9? We did it. Everybody did their thing. Overnight, my jaw dropped. You know how much we sold overnight? 1 million.
Wow.
And you know what triggered that?
What?
We got funded 750K because of that ability. Because now we were able to show the whole startup ecosystem. Sakto rin, everybody was writing checks at that time.
So dapat pala all these affiliates on TikTok have to thank you, man. You started this whole wave, right?
Yeah, and this is in 2020.
Yeah.
1 million pesos.
Galing.
1.2 pa nga.
That's good. Galing.
Overnight.
Galing. And just from affiliate sales.
Audio lang
Amazing.
pa lahat.
Amazing. That's impressive, dude.
That's what we were able to do to prove that our podcasts are not just entertainment value. They're able to convert. And then that triggered na the where we really went ham and went crazy again. Lazada, I love you. Okay. So thank you. No, those are really, really interesting moves Because if all of these sales didn't come through and you couldn't fulfill, you guys are dead meat. And again, super thank you. But again, we need to move on because you did more amazing stuff. So after Lazada, how did that translate naman sa E917? Because a lot of people eventually become lifers, like Carlos. Man, how long has Carlos been there, right?
Yeah, for a long time.
Carlos and Lazada is Carlos already. But what propelled you to really take another dive here to become an EIR in 917? Because you're already in a great situation. Why did you want to chase that thrill of going 0 to 1 again in 917?
I actually was supposed to join 917
Prior
pa to Lazada.
Si Reyna naman ang nakasulot.
I was having 2 conversations at that time, right? When I was looking to join the tech scene again.
For me, wala pang 917 back then.
There was already. It just started. Okay. Vince was around already. Okay. It kind of started. I mean, for me, it was a simple choice. It was either, there were only 2 choices for me. I really only applied to 2 companies at that time when I wanted to go back into tech, right? It was e-commerce and it was venture building, right? And at that time, 917V was really the only place that there was, right? And I just so happened to end up choosing to join Lazada at that time because I had, like I said, I had this gut feel about e-commerce. No regrets, exactly, right? And I just kind of felt something was going to happen. And then at that time, Ray had moved on from Lazada. Yeah. And I think it was also my time to move on. So
may Paolo rin kumuha dun.
Exactly. So parang, I mean, obviously because, diba, we were a very close team at that time, and sabi ko, sige, with Ray moving on, sabi ko, maybe it's time for me to move on na rin. Yeah. So the first and only company that I thought about contacting when I decided to move was 917. Even 4 years prior, I wanted to be a part of 917 Ventures na. And
just a timing issue technically.
It was just a timing thing. It was just that I remember Vince, when I told Vince nga that I was joining Lazada instead of 917 Ventures, he was like, hindi, okay yan. Sige, dyan ka muna. Matuto ka muna mag-e-commerce. So when I had finished my stint in Lazada, I said, okay, Vince, di ba? Can I come back? Or pwede na ba? And then, so that conversation happened pretty quickly.
Nice.
And then it also was very, I guess, fortuitous because that was also the same time that the 917 team had already started building Evro. Right? And they needed an entrepreneur in residence to come on board and
lead the
run
charge.
Evro. So from day one, when I was talking to the 917V guys with Race and Vince, it was clear that I was going to be joining the Evro.
Got it.
I'll be honest, I was a little afraid at that time because I didn't know anything about EVs.
For sure.
But then, same thing din naman eh. I didn't know anything about e-commerce.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about cutting hair.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about LiDAR or making suits. So sabi ko, okay, par for the course. Right? It's exciting. And I guess just like I had this gut feel about e-commerce is going to be something big.
Yeah.
I also had the same gut feel about EVs.
Galing.
I kind of felt like something's going to happen here. And it's just around the corner.
Yep.
And when that conversation with 917V happened, I was like, yeah, done.
Let's do it.
Let's go now. Diba? I guess when it comes to career moves, I'm pretty decisive.
Yeah, and you always have to, this is a pattern. And I think this is not chamba. This is something that you see opportunities before they even become, really tangible in plain sight.
Yeah.
Like you catch them at the right opportunity where you're right there on the precipice of becoming big.
Yeah. Parang may tingle eh. There's a
buzz to it.
Yeah, there's a buzz, man. There's a buzz. And you can kind of just, you can feel if something's going to happen.
And that's very, very important to being an entrepreneur because if you cannot spot opportunities, like for example, a lot of our peers, entrepreneurs would want to, you see an opportunity, but you don't see that this is a red ocean. So now it becomes you're coming into a market and the only way to win is a war of attrition.
Yeah,
Lahat kayo talo.
That's right. Exactly, man.
Right?
Exactly.
Because all of a sudden, the only way to compete is to cut costs. And then cutting costs means lower margins.
Yep.
Lower margins means less resources. Everybody takes an L.
And I think that's part of what always attracted me to 917V. You could tell that the culture of 917 Ventures was about finding that blue ocean.
Right.
Like, what is it? The culture was challenging what was already there.
Yeah.
Diba? And it was always about, I mean, I hate how people kind of like overuse the whole innovation word.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, in 917V, it was a daily thing. There's a process
Yep.
of innovating. It's not like may maisip lang tayo tapos okay, try natin. Hindi. There's a system eh.
Correct.
Diba? It's that whole system of a lean startup, start fast, fail fast. And that was really the DNA of 917 Ventures. The whole purpose of 917V was to start, fail, start again, iterate, improve, find something that really works, right? And that was the DNA.
I've had a chance and also interview some of your peers during your time. So, Cholo Tagaysay,
Yeah,
Consulta,
of course.
Gretchen Largosa became our angel in PNA eventually. And a whole lot more. I've had to talk to Migs, Guerrero, and all these. So, they all shared a common trope of how they hustled. Here's a 917B. Because you said it, there's a system to it. But walk me through the hustle that you had to go through to get Evro to where it is. Because if you're starting from ground zero, you don't know shit about
Absolutely, man.
EVs and EV charging. What was the grind like to really get the pace started?
I have to give props to our tech team, right? So with EV kasi, with Evro kasi, it's and I'm gonna start to get a little technical here.
Let's go.
Right? So Evro as an EMSP, the whole point of this is it's built on a common platform. And this common platform or language, it's called OCPI and OCPP.
Okay.
Right? And these were things that were completely alien or unknown. But the tech team in 917V, the way we work here is you have a business team, which is where I was as an entrepreneur. And then there would be the tech team. So the tech team would be the ones that build the product, right? So we call them the PTD team. They were fantastic at building this product, man. Like, I mean, they thought about this from scratch, from zero, studied all the different... Parang it's like that experience in Lazada. Diba? Parang nobody knew how to build it, so you just had to be scrappy as fuck.
Right.
And that's exactly what they were doing, man.
Wow.
I mean, they were researching all of this from public documents, from looking at competitor like
and this
European.
is pre-chat GPT.
Wala to. No,
This is all-
I mean, meron ng chat GPT noon, but
Not agentic.
you don't get this information from chat GPT. Yeah,
Correct.
actually, at that time, you're right. The chat GPT's first model, GPT-3, was not yet out.
Correct.
Right? So, and even that GPT-3, it was all old
Wala
stuff.
pa.
Walang bago.
Mm.
Diba? So, props to the team for really pushing the envelope on building this cutting edge new technology product, right? And galing din because there was a lot of foresight involved. The team saw that this was where the rest of the world was going.
Yep.
And true enough, all the things that we started at that time started becoming adopted as standards here in the Philippines, right? Like, for example, OCPI. OCPI is now the standard platform for EV charging apps across the country. So all EV charging apps need to now be on this platform. And this is something that the 917V PTD team figured out three plus years ago, right? And nobody was thinking about it back then.
Right.
Obviously, it was a risk, but I guess that's part of it also. As an entrepreneur, you kind of like you have to bet on something.
Correct.
Right. So just turned out to be a good bet, I guess.
No, that's amazing. And these are the things that allow you to really, again, have that foresight. Because this is a running theme across your career. You always come in 0 to 1. You've never done it, but the game is always how fast can you learn and become the expert in the game because you're fighting with nobody.
100%.
Right?
100%. Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, like similar thing with me. But this keeps happening outside of 917B naman. I have 4 startups now. My first startup was a nightlife app to get people in the guest list of clubs before.
Nice.
Nobody knew what the fuck that was. I was starting to introduce in 2013, 2014. I was trying to automate paano ka makakapasok ng Valkyrie without showing an ID.
Age, pare?
Yeah.
Age.
Silo. Okay. At least palas naman, okay?
Hindi ko alam kung anong pinag-uusapan mo.
So, no, I was trying to remove IDs. Because people fake that all the time.
Yeah.
I was doing QR codes. Nobody knew. I called it a party ID. And eventually, obviously now, QR codes are the norm. Again, evangelization period until you become the expert. Second thing, caught it early. 2017, I was doing chatbots. I was the founder of Chatbot PH. Right place, right time. I knew I was a key main evangelizer. 12 months after, got it acquired. Yun. Yes. And my first startup failed, by the way. So finally, after losing, 12 months after, big W. Ran it for a while. And then this thing naman happens, podcasting. There's already a few podcasts, whatnot, but nobody knew how to create a system out of it or an industry out of it. But all of these are actually, I was never looking inwards. I was always looking at, hey, what are the other guys doing overseas? How can we implement it, locally nuance it out, and win the game here? Because the opportunity exists here. And just recently, when I was just trying to really make ends meet, Vince was actually my customer. I saw a video of an 18-year-old kid making $1 million annually by pressure washing garages.
Wow, galing. Galing.
I was like, okay,
let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so I launched Papa Pressure.
Yeah.
It's a leading pressure washing service company.
Nice.
It's my little Felipe. It makes money on the side. Bahala ka dyan. Kaya mo yan. Low burn.
Yep.
High margin.
That's good, dude.
Saya.
Yeah. Masaya yan. I love services, by the way.
Yeah. And it's unsexy, but you'd be stupid to fail it.
Yep.
Diba?
Yep.
Kasi ang taas ng margin. No, but there's so much joy when something that's so novel that you've seen work overseas and work here. But I want to understand the science of how you adapt fast. Because sometimes that's what's missing in our local startup ecosystem. Gaya-gaya tayo. And we're so, tunnel visioned on our little tam here.
That's right.
You don't know how big this can be.
That's right.
And then we think yun na yun.
Yep.
How do you spot these opportunities when you feel like there's a buzz in the air and then win it when you see the opportunities wide open?
So I'm gonna have to take a different perspective here.
Okay.
From syempre as an entrepreneur, using my own money, building my own businesses, iba yung approach ko dyan. I have to take a bet and kind of just pray that it works, right? It just so happened that the ones that I did kind of did work, right? But it's a different perspective here in 917 Ventures. I'm lucky that I got the opportunity to be on both sides, diba? As an entrepreneur that invested my own money, and as an entrepreneur, as a professional entrepreneur who is paid to do this.
Yeah.
Because in 917 Ventures, part of what makes this place made this whole experience building Evro so rewarding was I was building on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
Diba? At that time, Globe obviously had a very big, Globe had GCash, diba? All these resources. Globe was also invested in Gogoro at that time. So it already knew this whole, what were the ups and downs of the EV startup ecosystem. Add to that on the other side, on the board of Evro, we call it the investment committee. On the investment committee of Evro, nandun naman si Jaime Alfonso.
Yep.
Diba? And at that time, he was starting AC Mobility. So, I had the benefit of having all these people, being surrounded by all these people, Ernest Koo on one side, Vince Yamat on the other, Jaime on this side, all these resources, diba? All this know-how, and all this perspective being injected into Evro about where the real movers were going to bring the industry. These were industry movers. What they did is where the industry would go.
Correct.
And being in a place where I had the benefit of knowing where the industry movers were going to take things was really, unfair. Diba? It's an unfair advantage.
Correct.
And I think that's kind of where the massive difference is between being a scrappy entrepreneur.
Correct.
Doon it's spray and pray and hope that I don't
Si Batman
lose
ang
my
tinatawag
money.
mo dyan lagi.
Diba? Parang sana, please. Diba?
Batman.
Oo.
Bahala ka na.
Exactly, diba? And my wife knows this, right? Parang she saw me during the times when I was, like scrappy entrepreneur. And the difference as a professional entrepreneur, right? Where it's building on the shoulders of giants. Diba?
Yes.
Iba yung perspective. When you are building from scratch with your own money, you're down here.
Yeah,
So your horizon is only up to here.
correct.
But when you're building on the resources of an Ayala, a Globe,
Yeah.
your perspective is up here. Your horizon is all the way over there.
You're shooting for a grand slam instead of a bunt.
Layo, di ba? Ang
Right.
dami mong nakikita.
Correct.
And I'm not even talking about this from a money perspective,
No, it's not.
because the reality is the money is always tight.
Correct.
Diba? You always have to work within a limited budget, right? It's not like as if they're going to give you unlimited
No.
money. Diba? It's like, ito ang pera mo, hanggang dyan ka lang, pero
Figure it out.
figure it out.
Mhm.
It's just that now, in 917 Ventures and with AC Mobility, I'm not trying to figure it out from the ground down here. I'm trying to figure it out from over here. And I see
And there's
more.
continuity. Because as a strappy entrepreneur, you're building through profit.
Yeah.
Roll over,
Yep.
and roll over. You cannot go, okay guys, we can't go from Primera all the way to Quinta. You
Correct.
can't just do it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You have to go through every
Correct.
single gear.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
Here, it's like, you see that it's wide open.
Well,
You know?
yes and no. Yeah, 'di ba? Merong moments na ganon, but may discipline eh.
Of course.
You have to have the discipline pa rin of proving that the way you're gonna go is really, okay, let's go all in on this.
Yes.
'Di ba? Hindi pwedeng
Para na ulit.
hindi pwedeng shoot from the hip lang. Kailangan disiplinado ka.
Absolutely. And this is where the structure of what 917B is. 'Cause
Absolutely.
you cannot even get the approvals for the resources that you need if you did not, do your homework and do the proper methodologies to unlock those resources.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Pero when you unlock it, swing for the fences.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like what you just said, right? Pag nandyan na, ang ganda rin ng culture eh. Na, okay, you've proven your case, here are the resources, go for it.
Absolutely. Kill it. The sky's the limit now.
Exactly.
Right. Now I understand why it's called Felipe. The whole time I was like, who the hell's Felipe ba? I was looking up, yung pala, it's King Philip of Spain that represented the Philippines. But now we're talking about Evro. Walk me through how this company was built, obviously, in 917, and how it became a part of AC Mobility, and how the stakes are now for sure higher.
100%.
What was that like?
Absolutely. The stakes are so much higher now. When in 917, it was all about learning fast, failing fast, experimenting. It was all about like building a product, like trying to figure out what to put in the app, how to build it, right? How to make things work with the chargers. It was your mad scientist lab.
Yes.
Diba? But now that we're a part of AC Mobility, iba yung pressure. The EV industry is growing. I mentioned this earlier. EV industry is growing 40% year on year, right? And the growth is just absolutely massive.
Wala na ang coding halos.
Well, baka
Okay.
actually you're gonna start seeing many more.
Right.
I think by the end of the year, we'll probably be at around 60,000 EVs on the road.
What?
Yeah. Evro now has about 45,000
Almost one.
Downloads.
Na lang.
today, right? And out of that 45,000 downloads, we are used 6 times a month by over 30,000 people,
Regardless of the car brand.
regardless of the car brand,
Wow.
right? And that actually represents about 80% of the registered EV owners in the country. So think of us as like, we are 80% of the market. That has pros and cons.
Yep.
Because the demands are different, right? If there is something that is not working right on the app or in the product, you're definitely going to hear it,
For sure.
right? So that was one of the big things that we had to do, right? When before it was all about building the product.
Yeah.
Now it's all about making sure that the product delivers and works well.
Yep.
So we built a call center to take in all of our customers' concerns, complaints, and every single day, right? We are using we're mining that for ways to improve the product.
Right.
Because think of it this way, an EV charging network is kind of like an ATM network.
Yep.
Right? You have the machine.
Mhm.
You have the people that own the machine, the banks. You have people that you need to be making the machine connected to a network for it to work.
Mhm.
And that network is connected to the central bank.
Right.
And that all has to be talking to each other, right? All in real time, diba? For you to be able to just do a simple thing as to get cash from your ATM.
Deliver value.
Right?
Mm.
Now, the moment something breaks in that multifaceted chain, ano nakikita mo? Offline.
Yep.
Yung machine, diba?
Yep.
Sa ATM, you're a little bit more forgiving because you can just go to the next corner and there's another ATM there and then I can use it because it's not offline, right? But there are only 240 charging stations in the country for the almost 45,000 people.
That's how big the gap is.
That's how big the gap is today.
What?
Right? So we're in the AC Mobility is really leading the charge in trying to set up all these charging stations. Our goal is to be at 700 stations by the end of the year.
Wow.
Next year at about 1,500.
And you don't even see these in plain sight.
Exactly. That's my point. Exactly, right? Because it's not yet ubiquitous. Mahirap na ngang hanapin. Pag nagkaroon pa ng problema when you get there, lalong nakakapikon.
Yeah, in Vermosa, the one that's there.
Exactly. Right?
Laging puno.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the problem with the EV owner right now is a lot of them don't understand yet the complexities that go into the whole infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like I told you, in an ATM network, all you see is that machine. You press your numbers and then money comes out. That's all you expect it to do. But you don't see that there's a telco network behind it. You don't see that there's a bank network behind it. You don't see that there's a clearinghouse behind it.
Right.
You don't see that there's a bank net exchange happening behind it. Right. And you don't care what all of that in the back end.
You just want your
you
money
just
out.
want your money, right? Same thing with EV charging. You just want to charge your car.
Correct.
So, ngayon, I like to say we're in the real world.
Yeah.
Evro is now in the real world where we have to be able to move fast to meet the consumer's demands.
Got it.
And we're always having to fix things.
Yeah.
We're always having to learn how to fix things.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these things have never been done before.
Yeah.
Right? For example, simple example. One of the regulations required by the Department of Energy is every EV charging station has to have a CCTV camera nakatutok to it because it's part of their safety standards.
Okay.
Right? They want to make sure that that there's enough for ensuring na hindi siya na may misuse or whatnot. But that's one of the standards.
So easily you need to have internet.
Exactly. Right? One of the things that we didn't realize was, so we set it up.
Okay.
Charging station, internet. We expect the internet to be able to connect to the app. No problem. Kasi in closed testing, okay eh.
Yeah.
Diba? It all worked. But then in the real world, when we started seeing how it was happening, we started encountering things like the internet was bogging down because the CCTV was eating too much of the bandwidth of the internet. Why? Because there was a leaf in front of the CCTV that was fluttering like that. And that was causing the CCTV's motion detector
to just keep
keep going on and on and on and on. And then before you know it, yung 100 Mbps mo na allocation, ubos na. Hindi na gumagana yung charging station.
Oh
diba?
My God.
Real world problems.
Wow.
That you don't see.
Right.
And all you hear is a customer complaining that, why is this not working? Right? And then they blame the app. And then they blame the charging
Right.
station.
And I would
Diba?
imagine the type of the leash that they give you guys is very akin to say how people react when there's no internet at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad trip sila agad.
Bad trip agad. 100% bad trip
Right?
agad.
So,
So,
bulok, and you'll start
Exactly.
hearing it, ganun,
Exactly.
whatever.
Diba?
But they don't know that apparently there's so many factors
there's
that
so many things. And you know,
Wow.
the team, they're working hard, man. Every single day.
yeah.
It's different now in the sense that it's not about like trying to build something continuously. It's about iterating on what's there,
Mm.
but the grind and the hustle of always trying to improve, that doesn't change.
Yeah, and it can be a thankless job,
100%.
right?
100%.
Like parang yung mga sa pag let's just say Meralco.
Yeah. Ito nga eh. Syempre, the number one complaint ng mga tao
Yeah.
is, bakit hindi yan libre? Di ba?
Oh. Wow,
Because
wow.
marami pang libreng charging stations eh.
Talaga.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
alright.
I mean, part of the come on yan ng mga
Yeah,
malls
yeah,
and
yeah.
establishments,
It's the draw.
diba? The draw,
Mm.
diba? Free charging here, free charging
Mm.
there. And then when we started monetizing, so that was what we were afraid at the
Right,
beginning.
right.
We were like, oh man, we monetize, but how are people going to react? Of
Mura
course,
nga
there are
eh.
some people,
Mm.
some people were syempre noisy against
Mm.
it, but a lot of people actually were thankful for it. Na parang, oh, finally, diba? We have, I think okay din na the market, I'm thankful that the market was already somewhat mature
Yeah.
in the sense na parang marami na rin ang nagsasabi na okay yan, monetize it because now it's a real business.
No, for sure. And they understand that these, first of all, I think the early adopters, the people that buy EVs, are tech savvy by default because it can be very intimidating at the start. Like, hey, EV,
Yeah.
ano EV na yan? Ganyan.
Yeah.
They're tech savvy. They understand that there's value created and
Yeah.
you need to make money in order to provide value.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they don't understand that, that's the scary part is when the majority comes in.
Yeah.
And the type of expectation
Yeah.
this majority, as we are starting to go there
Yep.
now,
And I'm telling you, they're
scary.
coming. They are coming because you think about it, tama ka. The people who first bought EVs
Yeah.
were tech savvy,
Yep.
early innovators,
Yep.
right? And we know from the law of diffusion of innovation,
the BOA,
Diba?
constrictor. that
those
looks like
guys
that.
are the most forgiving ones,
correct.
right? But who are the people now buying EVs
Early
and why?
majority. Mm.
Why are they buying EVs? Because it's cheaper,
Mm.
right? It's cheaper to operate. It's cheaper to maintain.
Correct.
So, ano yung profile nila? They're more cost conscious. They're more savings hunters.
Correct.
Right? So, nag-iiba na rin talaga yung profile ng
Correct.
demographic.
Mm.
And with that comes a whole new set of challenges.
Wow.
Right? It's about, and it's really always going to be grounded around delivering good customer experience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all it's about, right?
Mm.
And unfortunately, because it's so new,
Mm.
what good customer experience looks like is not yet clearly defined.
No, for sure.
And we're trying to figure that out along as
Yeah.
we go.
Now, I'm very curious though, because this type of grind and hustle at the very start requires a lot of patience. It's a lot of persistence also, not just from your point of view, but also from your teammates' POV.
Mm.
You need to build Avengers na willing magpabugbog.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? Who are the types of people that you needed in order to make this work? Because they're still helping you now. Because if it's just you, dude, you would have kalbo lagi gupit mo.
You know,
Oh.
I have to say, that's actually one of the things I feel most blessed about. Every single person on the Evro team that were in 917 Ventures joined me when we
Wow.
made the move from
Galing.
917 Ventures to AC Mobility. So the culture that we built
Stuck
in
there.
917
Mhm.
Ventures, it was all still there, right?
Galing.
And they're all there. The team is like
Mm.
all intact.
Let's
and
give them a shout out. Who are these
yeah,
people?
and like dami. Do I have to name
no,
all of them? Because
ayan.
but you know, shout out to everyone on the Evro team. They're a fantastic bunch.
Yep.
Super energetic,
Yep.
super passionate about what
Mm.
we're doing. And again, shout out to the culture of 917 because that all started here.
Mm.
We just kind of like lifted and shifted it into AC Mobility. And again, props demand to AC Mobility because they also are a group of people that understand that we are in the early stages of a very early game.
Correct.
Jaime, for one, is super forward thinking,
Super.
right? I mean, his whole energy is about we're building for the future.
Yep.
Right? And ang galing because the culture that the AC Mobility team have now is all supports all of that. Right? And so yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I'm pretty lucky that I got to build this with a team in a company like 917V that has that kind of culture, and then move this team into a company that has the culture of let's build for the future.
Galing.
Right? So I can't take any credit for the team.
No,
They're
but
fantastic.
Again, you're the head of the snake. So you need that's also a testament to your leadership. Because if, let's just say, you weren't the leader that you are, it's easy to just look for other opportunities. There's other opportunities out there, especially if you know you're good, right? But you're able to really lead them to ground. And why would you leave a leader that you know is gonna be there to help you out through thick or thin? So good job, bro. That's amazing. Now, last question before I let you go. I wanna tie this up to how you evolved as a leader. Because of course, as you say, Felipe and Sons, Paolo is probably very different to Evro Paolo.
Yeah.
What are the most profound learnings in terms of your evolutionary cycle that you've seen really happen? Because I always believe that your ceiling is also always parallel to or perpendicular. I forgot na. I'm sabaw na. Or sabay siya on how far your business will grow.
Yeah.
Your founder growth story.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what are those things that you carry along with you, along with the lessons that help you propel Evro to what it is now?
I think there's so many things kasi that you know as an entrepreneur you're always evolving. You're always whatever your business needs you to be.
Yes.
Right? And you're never just one thing. Simple example. I didn't know how to make suits when I started Felipe and Sons. So I went to London, studied in Central St. Martin's, and taught myself how to make suit patterns.
Galing.
And then I brought that back to the Philippines, and then I implemented that in Felipe and Sons, and that's how we became what we were. And then I started with Leica Geosystems when I was doing LiDAR. I didn't know what that was. So on my own dime, I'd fly to Singapore, study that. Same thing, with Evro. I didn't know anything about EVs. So I immersed myself in the product, learned it. Diba? It kind of became second nature, I guess. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, you never know what you're going to need to be.
Correct.
What the business needs you to be.
Correct.
Right? And that's why you have to be malleable. You have to be fluid. You have to be unrelentless in your search for knowledge, depending on what the situation needs you to be.
Yeah.
But also, you have to be extremely humble in understanding that you know that you don't know. Because there's so many things that the world has to offer that if you just soak it all in, right? If you're in the mindset to just soak it all in, the growth is limitless.
Yes.
Diba? And I think that's what I love about being in all these industries that are sobrang blue ocean.
Yep.
Diba? Parang palagi ko iniisip what's next. Right? And that's what gets me up in the morning. Like, what am I going to learn today? I'm always amazed at how much I still have more to learn.
Correct.
And at the capacity at which I'm able to absorb something because I'm open to it.
That is amazing. Again, thank you so much, Paolo, for such an amazing episode. I wish we had more time, but We definitely will invite you over for
No, this was
another
fun, man.
episode. But I want to ask you, if people want to work with you in Evro and whatnot, please invite people over. Where do they go and how do they do that?
Sure. So for Evro, if you guys want to reach out to us, send us an email at business@evro.ph, or you can send me an email directly to me at Paulo, Paulo @evro.ph, or just hook up with me on LinkedIn. I'm always there. Just
There
look
you
for
go.
me on
If
LinkedIn.
you need a
and-
haircut also, you know where to go.
Well, of course, philippeandsons.com,
There you go.
right? Book your haircuts online.
Fade, the right fade. Okay, there you go. Bawal pangit. Kailangan may fade. All right, there you go. Again, thanks so much, Paulo. Before I let you go, follow us on whatever podcast app you're listening to, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And also, if you did say some jargon, it's also going to be on hustleshare.com along with the links on how to listen to this episode. And big shout outs to 917V for this series, for this amazing series featuring all the best of the best that they can offer. And again, if you also want to join the Velocity at 917V program to collaborate with them and unlock the Ampere advantage, please do check out their website. And again, if you want to support HustleShare and doing content like this as well, please do check it out at premium.hustleshare.com. Again, thank you so much, Pao. Appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.